Hey everyone, it's Mike again. Uh, Finally got back from London today, and I'm setting up for sanding the remainder of these. um, all 100 of the toast magnets have had their back sanded up previously. I didn't have a chance to do any recording for it, unfortunately, but I managed to get them all done. But as you can see, if I can find the lens, there we go. Yeah, the edges still need trimming because even at this sort of state now, they are still, I wouldn't say sharp enough to cut, but it's a little bit unpleasant to hold in the hand. So those need doing. But what I'm going to do today, just to show you how quickly and how many I can get through compared to the old process that I used to do, where I used to have a piece of sandpaper on a table surface and I would just literally keep rubbing around in a circular motion until it was smooth enough on the back. And that normally for one of these would take about anywhere between I think it was like 20 to 30 minutes to get a decent finish, so that was always quite tiring on the wrist after a while. But now I use a Triton mini sander. Unfortunately, as you can tell, I don't have the space on a table surface to actually do this properly in a comfortable position, so I have to make myself uncomfortable to do it. But I use a Triton mini belt sander because they're only small. I don't need a massive belt sander to do this sort of job. And I'm going to be going through the other castings that I've done of the other fossil magnets that I've done. And as I've said before, I've got 100 orders. And when I say 100 orders, I mean 100 orders from people, not 100 magnets. That one of these is a person's order, but one person, might order one magnet, but other people have ordered the whole set and then some. So it's a lot of work for one person to do, which is fine. I'm not complaining, but again, it's just making it clear that I know the way that I speak through the autism side of things anyway, that I know what I'm talking about. Sometimes other people don't know what I'm talking about. So I'm just gonna set up and then make a start. Okay, so I'm all set up. What I'm basically doing is I hook up an old vacuum cleaner to the belt sander, so it takes away a majority of the dust particles that are taken off from the magnets. But just for added precaution, I always use a ventilator mask as well, just because the particles that this stuff emits, if you get it on your lungs, it can cause a lot of health problems, and that does involve cancer. And as much as dealing with issues like this in the long term is always hard to predict, but trying to nip it in the bud as early on in your youth as possible will give you a healthier life later down the line. And that includes anything like gloves and protective clothing and all sorts of stuff. It's in the moment, it's one thing, but if you really want to think about the long term side of things, then yeah, always wear protection as much as you can. I don't need to wear goggles, which is fine because none of this stuff actually comes up. It always shoots away from me, which is good. And during this process, I won't be able to mute a microphone because I'm using my mobile. So I will say that if you want to mute it or just play your own music track over this, because I don't have any editing software either, this just gets uploaded as it is, then feel free. I don't know how long it's going to take me, but considering that the video is already at just under 4 minutes now, it'll be interesting to time me how long it takes. So let's see how far we get. Right, here we go. right, I'm just going to give this machine a break because I can start to feel it overheating a little bit, and considering the amount of froth I'm getting from this, as you can see, it's just emitting so much today. I'll pause this and get back to it probably in the next half hour or so. So catch you soon. Okay, so back again. The machine's cooled down a little bit more now, so I can continue on. Turns out that the reason there was so much dust overhaul was that there was a bit of bubble wrap plastic that had been sucked into the vacuum cleaner at some point, so it was stopping the extraction from being 100% rather than what it should have been doing. But never mind, it's taken out. I emptied the cylinder as well because it looked like there was maybe a bit too much dust in there collecting up, so emptied that out as well. So yeah, time to crack on with it. And there we go. That is how I get through sanding the backs of all these now. Like I said, the old process used to be take a sheet of sandpaper and just gradually rub it to get down to a smooth surface. And now, I'm not even sure how many counted up in this one, but yeah, it takes me a lot less time. The video now is at 35 minutes. I've probably been at this now probably more like 40 minutes, despite the bit in between. So yeah, so I'm just gonna have a quick clean up, and then I'm gonna set up for doing the trimming of the edges, and after that it's attaching the magnets, and hopefully, if the weather's still good outside, because it's I think it's like 16 degrees outside at the minute, and potentially some rain due, might be able to actually get some priming done. So I'll see you shortly. Right, so all set up, all tidied, and now we're going to start doing the edging. Now I'm going to do it on the toasts first, so they can be done sooner rather than later. I'm using a Dremel. It's got a particular head that's almost got sanding pads on, so rather than being a very straight, solid trim, it gives it a nice soft finish. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, and one thing I forgot to mention on the earlier part of this video. Use ear defenders if you're going to be doing this sort of thing. Loud noises in your ear cause tinnitus, which eventually leads to going deaf. And the last thing I want in a workshop environment is someone yelling, "Your life's in danger," and I can't hear them. So fingers crossed. But yeah, make sure you got ear defenders in. One thing that I definitely want to mention as well is when it comes to painting the toasts, I'll try. My aim is to do at least 10 a week, a maximum of 20 if I can push it. And as soon as those have dried out, I can then start sending them off on either a weekly or a bi-weekly, or at worst case scenario, a tri-weekly basis. It's not the way I want to do things personally. I would rather do it as often as I possibly can, but with university studies and amateur work and what have you, especially with the secret project, which was part of the reason why I went down to London, and things went really well there. So there's a lot of positive things that are coming out from that, which is great. I'm trying to balance my time as best as I can. So as long as people are patient and what have you, then that's fine. So right, let's crack on with this then. roughly about 3/4 of the way through, but I'm gonna have to give myself a break for a minute. My back is killing me for a start, and being in such confined spaces, it gets quite warm in here, so I'm gonna have to take my hoodie off, I think. So I'll be back shortly. Right, well, before I crack on, I'm gonna have a bit of a tea break, I think. Taking a bit of a note out of James's book, I think. Sadly, it's not a Jurassic Park mug. I'm still trying to acquire a couple of those. I've got the 25th anniversary Jurassic Park Travellers mug, which is at university. And then the other one that I've got is a vintage 93 Awesome to Kill Jurassic Park mug with the lightning bolt through it. And that was really lucky finding I found that, but I ain't drinking out of it. I did happen to see one on eBay recently that I tried to bid for, and some guy outbid me. But in doing so, he ended up paying like 30 odd quid for it. So it's like, if I had that kind of money, I'd be quite happy to do so. But at the same time, it's like 30 quid for a mug, and all I want to do is have a brew out of it. It doesn't seem worth it. So I'll hang fire. These things pop up every now and then, so it's not like it's a once in a lifetime opportunity, so to speak. But then I've also noticed that the 25th anniversary does actually have their own mug as well, so I'm just trying to save up for one of those. I think they're only like 7 quid, something like that, so they're quite cheap. But yeah, no, they look good. But James, start eating biscuits, mate. You can't just keep drinking tea all the time. You ain't British if you ain't dunking biscuits. So yeah, so I think I'm about 3/4 of the way through with the toast magnets at the moment. I'm pretty sure there's probably maybe about 30 or 40 left to go. Not that much. When I did the last count, there was about 104 magnets that I'd cast. And the reason I cast so many is, as I mentioned in a previous video, sometimes when you're mixing the parts A and B of the chemicals together, they don't always mix properly, so you get like these random sporadic pockets of mix that just doesn't catalyze properly. It does. I mean, it does catalyze over time, but it depends on temperature. If this was America and we had a constant like 30-degree heat all the time, they would probably catalyze within about 6 months. But because it's UK, you've got 6 months of supposed heat and then 6 months of cold. And it just takes a little bit longer to catalyze. Like the ones that I had from the first lot in of Christmas last year, the ones that didn't catalyze, they've only just started catalyzing now, and we're at like what early September, so that's like well over 9 months, I think. So it takes time with these sort of things, and it's something that you don't have any control over. I mean, if this was a proper working factory, they would probably be turning out triple the amount, just only off chance that some of them don't work, and even then those would be either recycled for something else, or they would be put to one side and have a special process, whereas the remaining lot would be then shipped off. So they'd still meet the 100 quota order, but they have a lot more turnout to do that, whereas I don't have that luxury, unfortunately, so it's a bit tricky. But I might as well tell you about London, actually, while I'm having a break, actually. So London, it was quite an interesting trip, actually. I was invited down by the Ray Harryhausen Foundation to photograph their, I'm trying to think which one it was, First Men in the Moon premiere 4K cinema release. I don't know if this is going to be the 4K release that's going to come out on a 4K player, or whether they're going to have like a limited release in various places. I don't know, but it was interesting to see it. The film was made in 1964, I think. It was definitely in the 1960s for sure. And yeah, with the 4K edition, it made it feel like it was just filmed yesterday. It was really interesting. They got the original prints from the negatives, and yeah, it looks absolutely amazing. So I was there photographing the event for the talk prior to it, and they also had, I think it was last week, a book release for the movie posters of Ray Harryhausen, or Harryhausen films, I should say. And it was basically a book that doesn't it looks at all the artwork that went into making the posters for not just like America and the UK, but like other parts of the world. And some of them were really, really good, and then some were just kind of like really obscure. Like I think one of them was it was either not Sinbad, yeah, Seventh Voyage of Sinbad or Jason the Argonauts, and it was the most obscurest picture. I can only describe it as a dragon eating the head of a man, and that was depicting the film. Okay, so that was a weird one. That was a very strange one. Um, but I got myself a copy of the book, and I got the author Richard Hollis to sign it, and I even got the foundation trustee John Walsh to sign it as well. And yeah, it was really eventful day, really good evening. A big turnout as well, which is good. It's always good when you have a big turnout. Uh, and they even had one of the original child actors from the film there as well. I forget how you pronounce his surname, but Terry Mason, I think his surname is. It's Terry something anyway. But when he was in school, he was one of the child actors that was picked to be one of the ant creatures in the suit scenes. So he was literally talking about like, oh, I remember that scene because we were told that we were supposed to do this, and I was poking this actor, and we were doing that and lifting this. And it's really interesting to hear it from the perspective of an adult, especially when he's talking about seeing the film originally when he was a child, being in the film, and then now rewatching it so many years after and seeing it through adult eyes. It's interesting to see the comparisons between what he imagined and saw as a kid and then translating that into an adult format. So it's yeah, that was quite interesting, I thought. Um, so yeah, so that was basically the Saturday. Travelled down on the Friday night, and I think the book signing was like 1, so I had all the morning to get myself ready and what have you. Um, and yeah, Sunday I was leaving, so I thought I'd take myself off to the Natural History Museum in London. Since the coach didn't leave till 3, and yeah, just had a nose around the dinosaur exhibits as I normally do, and I never grow tired of going around them. Every time I go around, I'm always seeing de- details that I either never realised before, or you know, re-examining things that I had one memory of, and then re-examining it again and thinking, actually, you know what, I misremember this part because this wasn't as detailed as I thought, or this wasn't as informative as I thought. So yeah, so it was good. If you ever get a chance to go around again, I would highly encourage that people do. It's a great museum, and I love going there. It's just a shame that for me, um, coming down from Lancashire, it's either really expensive on the train or it's really cheap on the coach, but it takes 6 to 7 hours to get down there, which is troublesome sometimes. But yeah, I mean, the Manchester Museum that's only down the road from me, they've got a good collection as well, and they've even got a replica of the Stan T-Rex skeleton. So you've got a massive life-size T-Rex skeleton in their exhibit, which is great. And they've even got like an ichthyosaur fossil, and I think they've got a plesiosaur, and I think they still have a skull of a Dimetrodon in there as well. It's not as big as London by any stretch. I mean, London's like 3 times the size, but it's still a good little collection, and they've got some good stuff there as well. But yeah, it was different to see the blue whale skeleton in the main lobby area. I mean, I know when the museum originally opened way back in the day, they had a whale skeleton in place, and then Dippy came along at a later time. But yeah, I'm just so used to walking in, just being confronted by a sauropod, that then they now have the world's largest I'm not sure. Yeah, the world's largest animal there. And part of me feels like they should have gone with the route of that they had like a past and present sort of thing. So the world's largest animal then was, well, not necessarily Diplodocus. Diplodocus were probably medium sized compared to some of the later sauropods, but yeah, the world's largest prehistoric animal against the world's largest modern living animal. So yeah, it was good to see that, and it was good to see kind of like the mix up that they had on the sidelines, because they've changed a bit since the last went. They didn't have an iguanodon skeleton in one, or what was the other thing they had? They didn't have they had a swordfish this time around, but the last time I went they did have something in formaldehyde, which I think might have been coelacanth. I can't really remember. Yeah, so that was a good visit. I really enjoyed that. Well, yeah. So I'm hoping the next time I'm going to go down, I'm going to try and go down there for like a long weekend. It depends when the next time falls that I can go. I believe the foundation is holding another event maybe around about November, but if I'm volunteering at the Manchester Animation Festival in November, it depends on if it clashes or not, and especially if it's like the week that it finishes is the next following day. I would have to travel down to London, because that's a lot of running around. I mean, I don't drive personally. I fear having to learn to drive, just because of the way the road system changes for me, in terms of, if it was a case of just driving from point A to point B in a straight line, I probably wouldn't have a problem with it. But because you've got roundabout rules, and you've got dual carriageways, and you've got people that have got their own problems with road rage and things, and I can't take responsibility for that sort of thing, especially if it's like, if I lose control, I'm effectively then responsible for damage, or even the fatality of somebody, and I can't deal with that sort of thing on my conscience. I feel bad for, taking this long with your orders. So think how I'm going to be when I'm behind the wheel of a car and I accidentally kill your gran or something by accident. So yeah, it's just not something for me, really. I mean, hats off to people that can drive. There's a part of me that does wish I could, but yeah, it's just not for me. But yeah, all right. So I'm going to finish this off, finish remaining biscuits, and crack on with these remaining magnets. And what am I going for? They're out. Oh, by this clock, it's about an hour and 30. So I've probably been doing this now for 2 hours minus the this tea break. So yeah, not much longer to go. I probably won't bore you to death with the actual magnet side of it, because it's just a strip of magnet tape that you just hack down. I mean, if I had a guillotine, it'd probably be more interesting, but because I've only got scalpels to do that, it's a bit laborious, really. But once they're all set up, like I said, depending on the weather, I'll take the camera outside and then show you them all being primed up, and then at least you know they're on the way in some form or another. Right, catch you in a second, guys. I forgot my mask. There we go. Right. Oh, right. That's 100 toasts trimmed. Oh, sometimes I really wish I could afford to pay an apprentice or something to do this for me. Oh, so yeah, so that's that lot trimmed. I just need to go over them once more, take all the dust off so it doesn't interfere with the priming process. Get the magnets on, and then yeah, start priming. So considering we're nearly at 2 hours, well, an hour and 40, but yeah, 2 hours overall. I'm gonna end the video here. So yeah, this is how long it takes me to do like just 100 magnets in general, and that's not including the casting process. The casting process is like 30 minutes per magnet. So I never got round. Well, I did try to do masters, and I did get a couple out, but because people were messaging saying, "Where's my order? Where's my order?" I thought, right, I'm just gonna have to forget the master copies idea, because if some people are getting impatient, then by the time I get round to doing a master mold to make, like 5 or 10 magnets at a time, then they're gonna start getting difficult, I think. So yeah, so that'll have to come around at another point. I'll also say as well that in hindsight, what I'm going to start doing, I can't remember if I mentioned this in the previous video, but I'm going to say again anyway, that rather than saying that I'm going to have 10 of each and then paint them, I'm going to paint 5 a time and then put them on Etsy. So if, for example, all 5 variations of the Chronoid don't sell, then at least they're there for somebody that does want them. But then if I make 5 of Hoskins, for example, and all 5 that are made then get sold, then I know just to cast more Rex Skulls to make more Hoskins. I think that's going to be the best way for me to start doing this as a business, if you want to call it that. I mean, like I said, I'm good. I've said it once and I've said it a million times, and I'll still keep saying it. I am grateful for people that have bought these, and I'm grateful for people's patience. But at the end of the day, I don't want to disappoint people, and I certainly don't want to disappoint them in the sense of, if I get a big wave like this again of 100 people asking from orders from like one single magnet to, I think the most I've got in one order at the moment is like 12 magnets, then, that's a lot of man hours, especially for one person. Which is the other reason why I keep saying, if you want one of these, buy a DIY version and paint it yourself. Not so much to kind of like to free up my time, but just to give you the insight of, how much effort goes into these things of painting them, because it's not just a case you just paint it one colour and then that's it. You do multiple layers, you do different painting techniques, using different paints, and reveal different possibilities. So, it's I think I'll end it there. Okay, so if you have been watching for this amount of time, then great. Sorry for the vacuum noises. Like I say, I have no way of editing this video at all. I don't have any editorial systems. I'm basically recording this on the mobile. Yeah, I'm just so far behind everyone else that's got this sort of facilities on YouTube that, I'm about as raw as it gets. But I also think that it opens up people's eyes to say, there's no time lapse, there's no camera trickery apart from pausing to, clean up and what have you. But yeah, it gives you a good insight into how long it actually takes for me to work on these, and also shows you the working conditions that I've got to deal with as well. I haven't got a garage, I haven't got a shed that I can do all this in. I'm literally having to do this in areas of this cot-sized bedroom that, I have to do it on the floor, I have to do a bit on the table, I've got a tiny little workspace for casting, but that's about it. That's all I've got. So yeah. Okay, so hopefully we'll see you in the next video. Fingers crossed with a priming video. So okay, take care now.